Let's find the mean of grouped data. Now remember that the mean is the average value of a data set. So in the past, we would simply, right, we'd add up all the numbers and then we divide by the total number in the data set, right? And that's great. That was kind of an easy thing to do. We just add them all up, divide by however many there were. Well, that's great if we just have maybe a small set. But what happens if we have a group? And when I say group, I mean, what if we have intervals? Because that changes things. If we look at this example, well, we are given 5 intervals and they all have a frequency. So what this means basically is there are 18 numbers that fall somewhere between 0 and 15. Without knowing the exact value of each one of those 18 numbers, how can I add them all up and divide? Well, we can't. So we have a process of how to do this and how to calculate the mean from this group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth between the next page, which is our steps, and this example. So the steps to do this. Step 1, we need to calculate the midpoint for each interval. Now, to find the midpoint, we are going to take the lower and the upper values, add together, and divide by 2. So what that means, let me go backwards. So first we're going to find the midpoint. So for the first interval, 0 is the lower and 15 is the upper. So I'm going to take 0 plus 15 and divide by 2. This is the midpoint formula. So 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5. To find the next one, I would take 15 plus 30 divided by 2. Again, 15 plus 30. So I would have 45 divided by 2, which is 22.5. Then I would take 30 plus 45 divided by 2. So 75 divided by 2. All right. Now I have 105 divided by 2. And last but not least, 135 divided by 2. Okay, so I have my midpoints. Step 1, check. Now we go to step 2. We want to multiply each midpoint by the frequency. Okay, so for the first one, so this is midpoint, oops, wrong symbol, times the frequency. So I'm going to take 7.5 times 18. 7.5 times 18. And I get 135. For the next one, 22.5 times 21. So you see the midpoint for that interval multiplied by the frequency for that interval. 37.5 times 7. 262.5. Then 52.5 times 12 gives me 630. And last but not least, 67.5 times 14 gives me 945. Step 2, check. So now we go on to step 3, add. We want to find the sum of those products. Oops, wrong direction. So this here is step 3. Is adding up all of these numbers. So when I add those together, I come up with 2,445. This is step 3. Step 4, what is the total of the frequency? Okay, I keep going the wrong direction. So we're going to add up the frequency. So if I add 18 plus 21 plus 7 plus 12 plus 14, I get a total frequency of 72. Now, step 5, we need to divide the sum of the products by the total frequency. This emulates the idea of the mean, where we would take the sum of all, right? So the sum of the products is kind of a rough estimate. If the midpoint, we would say that's an average of that first interval, and so we kind of work this through. So we would take the sum, 2445, divided by 72. So when I get 2445 divided by 72, I get 33.9583 ... which is roughly 34. And that would be the average for this mean of grouped data.